Members, good morning, and good morning to the members that are coming in virtually, and also good morning to the executive and staff. This morning's meeting, it's with great sadness that we have heard of the passing of our colleague, former councillor Patsy Barry. Patsy was an outstanding public representative who served the people of his area with distinction. Patsy was known far and wide for his friendly nature and generous personality. He was a great ambassador for North Sligo and instigated or supported numerous projects in his area. Patsy was co-opted to Sligo County Council in June 1997 to replace Senator Willie Farrell. He was elected to the council in 1999 and was re-elected again in 2004. He also held the office of Cathaoirleach of Sligo County Council in 2005 and served as chairman of the Strategic Policy Committee on Planning and Development and chairman of the County Sligo Heritage Forum. Patsy will be fondly remembered by elected members and staff, and some of the elected members who maybe are no longer in the chamber, I know will fondly remember Patsy also. Our thoughts and prayers are with his wife Noreen and their family at this time. And just on my own behalf, as a new councillor coming in 2009, I found Patsy to be very friendly and very helpful and a gentleman through and through. So I'll call on the members. Councillor Gilroy.
Thanks very much, Cathaoirleach. I suppose we all remember the man behind the bar, and that's what Patsy was very well known by an awful lot of people as, because he spent 50 years of his life working behind the bar. A lot of people would say Noreen did more of the work behind the bar, and Patsy was doing the political side of things for many of those years. But I think he did political work long before he was elected. He was always a community man. Turn this thing off. Apologies, Cathaoirleach. So many people would remember Patsy as the publican and councillor from Grange. His name has been synonymous with Grange for the 79 years of his life, which started in 1942 as the first son of Agnes and Packy Barry on a small farm holding in Rinroe. This is where he got his first love for farming and agriculture, which stayed with him all of the days of his life. His first farming endeavour, as I was told about at his wake the other night, was with 6 milking cows, and he had a little van that he used to bring the creamery cans up to the creamery every day. And that's how he started building his own little empire of businesses. His father purchased a pub in Grange in 1953, and Patsy spent his first day behind the bar on a fair day, which was a lively event on the 20th of April in 1953. And he continued that with Noreen for the next 50 years. 6 years later, as we were told the other day at the Mass, he was the star of the future in the county winning junior team that won the junior title in '59. Patsy and Noreen built their business into one of the most popular pubs in Sligo over the coming years. In 1968, with the closure of Brafey National School, Patsy took up the job as the bus driver, bringing children from that area to Grange School. He cared for and maintained a friendship with the children on his bus run right up until his final days. In fact, on the way to the grave the other day, we were told of an incident where one of his students that he had brought to the school became a teacher at the school. And in those days, she was 3 miles from the school. And he brought her every day to the school. But unfortunately, after a while, he had to say to her, somebody complained. And she had to find her own way after that. But it was the caring nature of him that he looked after them. After the afternoon bus run, when all the children were safely at home with their families, the yellow Ford Transit bus could be seen parked maybe at McLean's or at Missy's, where he would be visiting for a short time with some of his publican colleagues. We may never see the day again when a bus is parked outside a pub, but that bus could tell stories because it was never locked behind his own pub either, and was many's the first kiss or cuddle was got in that bus, unfortunately. And Patsy never minded leaving it open for healthy engagement. In the 1980s, he widened his career and became an auctioneer, another business that was badly needed in North Sligo, and he'd taken that over as well. When Willie Farrell stepped down in 1997, as the Cathaoirleach said, Patsy was selected and co-opted onto the council. And he proudly took to the job of representing the people of North Sligo from whatever side they were from, and setting a standard that will be hard for the rest of us to match. He was successfully re-elected in every election that he contested up until 2014 when he stood down. 2009 he found particularly hard when decisions that were made at national level were taken out on the councillors, and I know he felt a little bit hurt at that time, but he put it behind him and kept at the work. He served, of course, as Cathaoirleach in 2005, and it was an honour for me to get one of his Cathaoirleach awards that year. I had the pleasure to canvass with him in all 3 elections for himself, and in a couple of general elections for Jimmy Devons and Mark McSharry, where Patsy would be directing us all. I suppose the only unsuccessful election he had was when he was my Director of Elections in 2014, and we blame the candidate, not the Director of Elections. Just when we were digging his grave on Friday, his son Jarlath was telling me that the headstone was the second one to go into the new part of the graveyard in a hamlet. And there was a rule about the size of headstones, and Patsy got Jarlath to draw it out with his technical drawing tools to show exactly what size, that it was kept within the regulations. Unfortunately, about 200 or 300 other people didn't follow the rules, and they're all over the place like they are everywhere else in the county. But he was a man that stuck to the rule. In the first year of this council, before we were isolated, I personally would call in to see Patsy in the sunroom on the east side of the house, where he held court, looking out on the meadows where the cattle grazed and the passing walkers on the road could be seen, and he'd know everybody that was passing. On arriving at the door, I was always greeted with the 5 come-ins: come in, come in, come in, come in, come in. I will sorely miss that advice that is no longer available to me, and as the next Fianna Fáil councillor, I have very big boots to fill. And if I only deliver half what Patsy delivered in the area, I'll be happy with the achievements. I'd like to thank the councillors who attended the funeral and the Guard of Honour, and I'm sure it meant a lot to the family. The kind messages that have been passed through me to pass on to the family. The Heritage Forum was mentioned by the Cathaoirleach, and I think we need to acknowledge Noreen's work in that, because she was his secretary at all times. There was no mobile phones in those days, and Siobhan Ryan even said to me the other day that Patsy, she had more conversations nearly with Noreen than she had with Patsy, because that was how everything was done. I also got a phone call from Marie Foley, who was involved in the Sligo Spanish Society. And when the first Armada wrecks were found in 1985, Patsy, along with our chief executive's father, were the first 2 that drove to get the first Armada group started. And she said that at that time there were people who saw that the museum and that the artefacts should all move into Sligo town. And Marie acknowledged that as something she didn't agree with. Its place was in Grange, and she said Patsy was on her side all the way, and that was the way it went. He's going to be, I suppose there's one thing he always said, one last thing before I go, and that was how nearly every conversation ended. But the last thing I'll say is that he'll be sorely missed by myself, by his community, by his party, and most especially by his family. So my condolences to Noreen, Helen, Sinead, Jarlath, and the grandchildren and the in-laws and his brothers, Hubert and Fergus. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Casserly. Councillor Casserly, you're on mute. Marie, can you hear us? Marie? Yeah, now, go ahead.
Sorry, Jimmy, the sound is gone on this.
We can hear you, Marie. You
Can't
can
hear
talk.
anything.
You can talk away. No, okay. Okay, Councillor O'Grady had indicated.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and unfortunately I have to leave for an appointment. I think Councillor Gilroy said it all, and watching the CEO, a lot of it, especially the bit about the bus, rang a bell, certainly with Tom, and there was memories there for all of you. But he certainly, I was in Grange Hall in 1997 when he was co-opted to replace Willie Farrell. And he was a larger-than-life character. He was caring, kind man, and North Sligo was always to the fore in his thoughts. I think it's important that we acknowledge Noreen, because she certainly was behind him in everything and every venture that he decided to take part in. And I had the pleasure in 2005, when Patsy was Cathaoirleach and I was mayor, we spent a couple of days in America together, and we had a very memorable time, and I got to know them maybe in a way that I wouldn't have if we hadn't spent that time together. So I want to offer my deepest sympathy to Noreen and their family, and indeed their grandchildren, and the loss of a great father, a great husband and grandfather, and certainly he will be long remembered by his colleagues here in Sligo County Council. Thank you, Cathaoirleach.
Thank you, Councillor Baker.
Donald has everything fairly well covered, but I'd like to express my sympathy to Noreen and the Barry family. Patsy was a huge character, and I know when I came into the council here first, he was a huge help. Didn't matter what party you're from, no matter who was there, he always was able to give that bit of guidance. And I know we used to have many group meetings of our own then, and there'd be a good worry one, but he was a great man to get things settled and always treat things in the right approach. And he will be sadly missed within his own community, and it was evidence the amount of people with restrictions and everything there that just wanted to show that little bit of respect. But I'm just privileged to have known a man of his humour, and managed the good story he'd tell, and totally dedicated to everyone. And it didn't matter what your politics was, he treated everyone on an equal basis. And I remember here in the chamber, I suppose it's not good to be bringing up the past, but I remember when we had the saga at Lissadell, and I remember vividly, he said this should be brought back out into an area meeting. As hindsight, we know what happened after, but he was that man of common sense. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor McSharry.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. Again, I was very privileged and fortunate to have known Patsy when I first came on the scene in 2004. Patsy was one of the elders in the Fianna Fáil party, and indeed has been stated. He was a great mentor to a lot of us. He was a rock of sense, great wisdom, clearly a highly intelligent man, but a very diplomatic man. And when Patsy spoke, and I know this has been said before, he didn't speak a lot of words, but when he did speak, people listened. He was always for North Sligo, and first and foremost, and then for Sligo County. So again, I would like to offer and express my deepest condolences and sympathy to Noreen and the Barry family. And very importantly, and I'm delighted that Councillor Baker has mentioned it, if people listened to Patsy, that whole saga could have turned out very, very differently.
Thank you, Councillor Maguire.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. I'd like to join with my colleagues in extending my sympathies to Noreen and to the extended Barry family. Unfortunately, I never had the pleasure to meet Patsy in person, but Councillor Gilroy has very eloquently described him, and he was obviously a great public representative, totally committed to his area, and one who will be sadly missed by extended members of the public in the North Sligo area. I'd like to apologise, I was unable to attend the Guard of Honour for Patsy, but extend my deepest condolences to Noreen and the extended family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bree.
I wish to be associated with the vote of sympathy Patsy Barry gave unselfishly of his time during the period he was a member of this council, and his commitment to the people of Grange and North Sligo was beyond question. Patsy was always courteous, modest, respectful, and in the period I served with him on this council, I don't recollect him quarrelling with anyone. As was pointed out, he had the distinction of serving as Cathaoirleach in 2005 when he gave exemplary service to the people of Sligo. And having had the privilege of serving with Patsy, I certainly can give testament to his integrity. He was an admirable public representative, hardworking, popular, and he'll be missed by all who knew him. And my sympathies certainly go to his wife Noreen, his daughters Helen and Sinead, his son Jarlath, and to his extended family, and to his colleagues in Fianna Fáil, and to his many friends. Thank you, Cathaoirleach.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. I would also like to be associated with the votes of sympathy, and I think Donald has spoken very, very well, and I would like to sympathise as well with Noreen and all the extended Barry family. And I know he has spoken of, Patsy was spoken of very highly throughout the council and in Grange and the surrounding areas, and I think it has been said already that was very evident from the great show of support for the family and for the community on Saturday as well. So may he rest in peace.
Thank you. Councillor Gibbons.
Cathaoirleach, on behalf of myself and my Sinn Féin colleague on the council here and the Sinn Féin organisation, I'm sure I speak here on behalf of Sean McManus and whatever else. We'd like to be all associated, Chris and Sean, we'd all like to be associated with the vote of sympathy. I would have known Patsy, even though I never served with him on this council, but I served on the Borough Council and our paths would have crossed, and I always found him a very likeable fella and very obliging guy. He was the type of guy, I don't think I ever heard anybody saying a bad word about him. And as I says, in reality to it, it's just one of those sad times that we all have to face kind of in life where people pass on, and it's their families are the very first ones to miss them. But it's a lovely thing as well that we have the likes of this setting here for members when they pass on, that we're able to pass on the votes of condolences and share memories as well in relation to it. And I just like to take this opportunity is to wish his family condolences of both myself and the Sinn Féin organisation. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Casserly, we'll try your link again. No. Can you speak, Marie? We could hear you the last time.
Thank you. Apologies, the connection isn't great. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, keep talking. No. Yeah. Sorry, no. Councillor Clark.
Cathaoirleach, I too, having served with Councillor Barry, would like to offer my condolences to the Barry family of Grange, and indeed to all the people in North Sligo who were served by Councillor Barry in the past. My direct memory of Councillor Barry here in the chamber is that he didn't tolerate easily time wasters or holding up. He wanted to get to the point and get the business of the meeting done, and he was very efficient at that. And I like to compliment Councillor Gilroy, who has paid a tribute to him as his successor, and well, ably done. And men like Councillor Barry, the former Councillor Barry, are fair and few between. He had a stature and a presence that will be remembered for a long day to come. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor O'Boyle.
Thank you, Chair. I would also like to be associated with all the tributes to the former Councillor Barry. I haven't worked with him on the council, but his reputation preceded him. He was a great ambassador for the North Sligo area, and all his constituents. The turnout at the funeral the other day just showed how much he was respected in the area. It was a great sight to see the outpouring of emotion, and especially the way they carried the coffin from the church up as far as the pub and back to the Gaelic pitch. So I'd just like to give my condolences to the family. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just try Councillor Casserly once more.
Yeah. I can hear you.
No, unfortunately, we can't
Can you
hear
hear
you,
me?
Marie. You try
Sorry.
speak away there for a minute.
Can you hear me now? Sorry,
Yeah,
no, I
go
don't know
ahead.
what's wrong with the reception. Is that okay?
Keep going.
Okay. Thanks, Cathy. Look, just to extend my condolence, priority in life was community work. He oversaw many improvements and much progress for the community of Grange and North Sligo during his time as a member of Sligo County Council. And his great work will be his legacy, and I express my condolences to his wife Noreen, his children Helen, Sinead and Jarlath, and his grandchildren and many friends. And he actually was a bus driver when we were young, and he took a box of Tato crisps for a surprise for us when we were least expected it. So he was very kind. He took to retirement with ease, and you'd often see him cycling around the village on his bike. So he set a trend because Joe Leonard also took to the cycling on his retirement. So hopefully we have that to look forward to. But just to say condolences again to the family, and may Patsy rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, and apologies at the start of the meeting. I omitted to read out 3 apologies I received. Councillor Malani, Councillor Fox and Councillor Walsh. Now I'll ask the Acting CEO, Mr Gilfadder, to say a few words.
I'd just like to join with yourself and the members in paying tribute to Patsy and to extend sympathy on my own behalf, on behalf of all the staff, and I'm sure on behalf of our previous CE, Kieran Hayes, and indeed our previous county manager, Hubert Cairns, who worked with Patsy as well, to extend our sympathy to Noreen, to Helen, Sinead, Jarlath, all his grandchildren and his brothers, Hubert and Fergus, on the death of Patsy. I thought the send-off Patsy got on Saturday was, it reflected the regard in which he was held, the way his neighbours walked him to the church, the dignity of the guard of honour afforded by the current council, previous council members, and indeed the wider political body, the staff at Lang's restaurant, and then the GA club. I just thought the send-off, it was fitting, it was deserved, and it reflected the great man that Patsy Barry was. Thank you, Gerald.
Thank
Chairman,
you.
can I add the apologies of Councillor Joe Queenan as well, that he would have liked to be in here.
Yeah, that's great. We'll note that.
And I've been reminded there to thank not only the councillors but the former councillors who attended, and it was lovely to see so many of them there, and 2 TDs and 2 former TDs there as well to pay tribute to him, along with the huge community showing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, members. May Patsy's soul rest in peace. Members, I'm going to adjourn the meeting so until next week, Monday the 24th at 10 a.m. With your agreement, is that okay? Okay, thank you very much, members. Thank you.